So today we're going to be talking about modern surfaces and transparency and trends that go along with those surfaces, and basically just going to talk about trends over time and how things are starting to change with how popular sustainability is becoming in the industry. A little background on CaraGreen. We are focused on creating availability of sustainable alternatives to conventional building materials, and we like to do this through identifying the best existing and emerging materials, but also through acting as a source of education. So that's why we give presentations like this, so that you guys can make some educated decisions on the materials you're choosing. And then overall, we want to be that source of information so that you can help us to achieve a higher level of sustainability in the built environment and reduce carbon emissions, all of that good stuff. So this is an AIA certified presentation. You can email me at rob@caragreen.com if you would like a certificate, or if you would like us to log your AIA number through the AIA portal so you can get those credits added to your transcript. So now we can get into our learning objectives. Today, we're going to talk about how we interact with surfaces in our daily lives, review changes in surfacing trends over time, and then identify some challenges within the traditional surfacing materials industry, and then some sustainable alternatives. We're going to understand the benefits of using these modern surfaces that we've identified, and identify criteria to help find and choose the best modern surfaces in the industry, and then which will be best for your particular project or space. So first, we're going to go over what we mean by surfaces. So we're talking about both horizontal surfaces and vertical surfaces, and these can be counters and islands, table and bar tops, flooring, benches and seating, so all over the spaces that we are inside of. And then we have vertical surfaces as well, your walls and your cladding. So why do surfaces matter so much to your occupants? It's the central aesthetic fixture of a space. It's going to help set the scene for other decor associated with the surface we're talking about. And it's also a functional area for tasks. So a lot is happening on these surfaces. We're working, cooking, eating, sitting, displaying. So lots of stuff is happening, and different surfaces require different attributes, whether it's durability or how functional it is for the particular activity. And these surfaces are all touched and cleaned often. We're interacting with them frequently throughout our days, whether it's by our hands, with our food, or even what's underneath our feet. So what are surfaces made of? The ones we're going to be talking about today are plastics, wood, natural stones, minerals, and metal. There's lots of different combinations of all of these, but this is generally what we're seeing as the most popular surfaces in the building industry. And there's some key players in the surfacing industry, all the way from its creation and sourcing of the raw materials to those people who are interacting with them in their spaces. So we have it going from all the way from mining to manufacturing, to architects and designers and the building owners, to the fabricators and mill workers, to the building occupants. All of the people, all the stakeholders listed here are impacted by the different types of surfacing that we offer. So we want to make sure that we're talking about each of those stakeholders and what their responsibility is. So now we can look at surfacing of the past and how we've seen the trends evolve over the past 50 or so years. And we really see, in the 1970s, 1980s, laminate was the go-to kitchen countertop. It was the cost-effective option. We saw it move to solid surface, which was a new modern option that was easily cleanable and through body. We have granite, which was very popular in the 2000s and the 90s up until 2010. We still see it around a little bit now, but we've seen it largely move on to quartz, and that has become the pretty much go-to countertop material across the country, and it's widely used as the majority stake in the market share. So now what we're looking at in the past 10, 15 years and going on into the future are these modern surfaces, and lots of different materials that can be thrown into this category. So we're going to understand what modern surfaces are and what materials we would consider under that category. So in general, we're seeing a turnover of surfacing trends of about 25 years, and those are changing pretty regularly. So the first material we'll go over is wood, and this has been pretty steady in its popularity over time. We still see it being used quite a bit, but it's a very versatile material that can be used for flooring, countertops, cabinetry, and cladding and furniture. So it's very popular, it has a timeless aesthetic, it's cheap and readily available, maybe not cheap right now, but hopefully we'll get back to lower lumber prices. There are some drawbacks to using it. It has a high porosity. It makes it prone to growing bacteria and mold, stains and scratches easily because of that porous nature, and it does need constant refinishing. Overall, it's not a super long lasting material or durable solution for a long lifetime. Now we can look at laminates, and laminates we're all probably pretty familiar, but just for the sake of consistency, we'll go over what a laminate is. It's layers of thin craft paper soaked in resins combined with high heat and pressure adhered to a printed top layer and coated in melamine. So what we're seeing here is it's attached to structural elements like wood and composite. It's a low cost material used for countertops, walls, floors, and furniture. There's infinite colors and finishes. So that's, really why it became so popular in the 70s. And it was often mimicking stone appearances, tile appearances, or wood and metal. So some drawbacks we have with this material is that binders often contain volatile organic compounds, which are released through its lifetime. Doesn't create a healthy space for the occupants. And then once it's damaged, it's not very easily repaired and will often result in a quicker turnaround in its lifetime, leading to frequent replacement. So now we can look at the first generation of solid surfaces. We really saw this rise to dominance in the 90s, but we're still seeing some popularity here. A lot of people were drawn to this surfacing option because it's easily cleanable, non-porous, and we're defining this as acrylic and polyester-based synthetic surfacing. So we're seeing those natural stone mimics here. It's stain resistant and easy to clean, at least more so than what we were used to at the time. And it's molded into a single seamless piece with matching sinks and backsplashes. It really replaced the laminate in the 1980s, but some drawbacks we're seeing here is the color degradation over time, and then this milky appearance you can see with either heat damage or scratching. The colors are pretty flat and neutral, so not a lot of variability there. And then they were prone to heat damage, scratching, staining, all of that stuff. Now we can see in the 2000s that we're moving into natural stone. So natural stone is marble, granite, quartzite, and what we're seeing here is a finite resource mined from the earth using an energy-intensive extraction process that also degrades the natural environment. It's a great, material in terms of its appearance. It offers a natural beauty, and there's a large price range available, so you can fit a lot of projects. It's a long-lasting material, but there is difficulty in its repairs once it's damaged. So there's some variable appearance because it's a natural material. We can't control the way it looks. And there is an unpredictable supply chain associated with this material. And we'll get into why that is in just a little bit. So now getting closer to present day, and we're looking at quartz being the dominant surface in the 2010s, but I would say we're still, in a quartz dominant environment right now. It's a mineral comprised of mainly crystalline silica, and it's chips and dust bound together with resin to create a synthetic surface. It has a very popular color range and aesthetic, mimics some of those natural stones we just discussed, but has become a commodity. So it's readily available. People know what they can expect, so it has become very popular over time. It has low maintenance and stain resistance because it is non-porous and does not require sealing, but it is prone to heat damage and yellowing with UV exposure because most of these are bound with a polyester-based resin. And now we can look at some recently emerging materials. So the first we're going to look at is porcelain. And I know what you might be saying, porcelain's been around forever. Why would this be recently emerging? But we're really talking about large format porcelain, which we've seen become a lot more popular in the past 5 to 10 years. And porcelain's made by heating a mixture of stone and clay coated with a glaze. There's a wide variety of colors available. It can be printed to mimic natural stones, and it's available in all different sizes, from very large slabs to smaller tiles. It's a non-porous material and easy to clean, so that's why we've seen some popularity here, in my opinion, and it has a high heat resistance. There's some drawbacks in the fabrication process, but in terms of how fragile it is and the fact that it's prone to chipping and cracking, but this has become a more popular material, especially because of the printing capabilities that exist that mimic some very intricate natural stones out there. And then another recently emerging stone is sintered stone. And this is a new category of stone that's made with 100% mineral powder, which is put under a vacuum, compressed and vibrated so that all of the minerals lock in together to create a very tightly knit matrix, then heated to just below melting point, kind of mimicking the process of making natural stone in a factory. And the performance is just unmatched by natural stone and porcelain. It's very resistant to stains. It has an extreme temperature resistant and a very high scratch resistance. And you can put this material all over interior and exterior applications, from flooring to cladding to counters. It can be used all over. And there is a low to no silica content here. So silica is something that's present in natural stones, and we'll touch on, the silica problem in just a minute for you all. So now we can hop into this survey. If you set up the polling software, and the directions are up here, but you can just send in your multiple choice option of what surface you work with the most. It looks like a lot of solid surface coming in. And this is really, if we think back to the trends we just went to, this is really mimicking what we just spoke about, quartz being the majority, solid surface, and then laminate being phased out over time. So thanks for responding, everyone. Oops, sorry about this. I'm just stuff. So then we can have another question to follow this up of what surface do you like to work with the most? Looks like stone and quartz, most popular. So we see some challenges coming out, and let's just overview market trends right now. So I believe this was taken from a study done in 2018, so a few years back, but I would say that maybe this has progressed even a little bit more. And what we're seeing as the most popular options here are the solid surface granite and some quartz. And then the other categories, what we want to pay special attention to, that's going to be your sintered stones, porcelain, and other modern surfaces. And what we're predicting is that this is going to grow over time. Over the next 10 years, we'll start to see new categories be included and watch these other categories like quartz and laminate be phased out, along with marble and granite too. So some of the issues that we see coming out in the surfacing industry are related to their environmental and health impacts. The first of these is the mining of finite resources. So A lot of surfaces like natural stone and solid surfaces are using finite resources. And we could talk about this in both of the stones that are mined and also in terms of the resins that they're using. So a lot of resins are petroleum based. These are your plastics, and these are definitely finite resources in terms of sourcing of petroleum, but also in terms of how much plastic we can afford to throw away at this point in our society. So we're running out of both the material to make it and what we can do with it at the end of its life. The processes that are required to obtain the stone and petroleum are both very dangerous to the environment and to human health. And mines especially are super devastating to local environments and local populations and communities. And we've seen commoditization of the quartz market recently. So, over the past 20 years, we've seen it become the go-to countertop material. And countries like India, China, Turkey, and Vietnam were able to produce a very cheap material that quickly flooded our market. And eventually what we saw arise more recently was some tariffs along with these materials. So this, resulted in a little bit of an industry shift, a little bit of instability with pricing and supply, and it caused some movement in terms of where the material is coming from. So now we can look at the tariffs and sourcing a little bit more in detail, and these have affected, pricing and sourcing. We've seen supply move from China to other countries to try and get around these tariffs. Of course, not the most ethical thing in our minds to do, but we've seen pricing largely stabilize recently. There's still some volatility with the sourcing of petroleum-based resins, but overall, just keep an eye out for this. It will continue to be a more volatile market in comparison with the modern surfaces that we will go over. And we want to talk about silicosis and health concerns. So you heard me mention that sintered stone was a low to no silica material. And the reason that silica matters so much to CaraGreen is because it's a huge health hazard for the supply chain and the various stakeholders associated with our project. So crystalline silica is found in quartz and a lot of other natural stones. And in quartz especially, it's 80% of the material composition. And when this dust is inhaled, it's causing silicosis, which is a lung disease similar to what asbestos causes. And it can be contracted by either mining, cottage material. When the dust becomes airborne, it lesions your lungs, leads to cancer, silicosis, other horrible diseases that we don't want our stakeholders to be exposed to. So there's a lot of lawsuits arising internationally, a few coming to the United States more recently, from fabrication work done over 20 years ago. So this is going to continue to arise, and we just want to inform you of it so you can be ahead of it and start looking at some other materials that don't have this high composition of silica. And one thing to note is there is two types. So there's amorphous and crystalline. Crystalline is what we see in quartz. That's the dangerous silica. Amorphous is silica that's present in glass, and this one does not have the same health issues. These sort of like pointed stars are what's causing lesioning. The same effect does not happen in the amorphous silica. So another factor we can look at, limiting those classic countertops and surfaces we just looked at is durability. And for one reason or another, traditional surfaces are replaced often. We have four very common issues we see with these surfaces: staining and yellowing, rotting and molding, cracking and chipping, and then changes of trends and styles. So we find that these will need to be replaced often. Not great for the amount of money you're spending on a project, but also not great for the environment as we're disposing these materials frequently. And then that segues right into the end of life conversation. So even before the surfaces may require replacement, occupants might want to redesign. A lot of traditional surfaces that we went over are not repurposed, and a lot of them are just thrown into a landfill with a major environmental impact. We're running out of landfill space, so we need to start to identify those modern surfaces that have a take-back program or can be repurposed at the end of its life, or maybe even those that have a longer lifetime to prevent that or push out that disposal. We also have seen some recent supply chain problems, and I'm sure we've all dealt with this in one way or another over the past few months, but raw material shortages are affecting all sorts of manufacturers in the surfacing industry, from lumber to the sourcing of petroleum resins to just finding a boat to put your material on. We are seeing delays in all of these categories, and shipping is backed up from labor shortages as well. We're having a shortage of freight drivers, and then traditional options are becoming not worth waiting the time and price, making some alternatives even more appealing that may be readily available, not depending on the same backed up supply chains. So now that we've discussed all the problems, we're gonna tell you how to come clean from all of these materials and where we can start to identify the key factors that make a surface modern and sustainable and healthy. So conscious consumerism is something that we can start to look towards. Consumers are demanding more from materials, products, services, and companies. We're seeing so many companies, in light of COVID ending, identifying these sustainability goals and really starting to care about the communities that they're interacting with, but also the environments that they're impacting. And people are taking this conversation very seriously, and it's something that is important to companies' profits. So they will be paying attention to it more and more as consumers care about these issues more and more. And we've seen it affect all industries, and now we're seeing it come to the building industry in a very strong way. So what do our customers want now? If conscious consumerism is driving these changes, what is the 4 pillars that consumers are really pushing for? And what we're seeing is sustainability overall, the interaction of social and environmental impacts. We're looking at transparency. If the product isn't environmentally friendly or isn't healthy to be around, at least disclose it. At least tell consumers what's in your material. We just want to know everything that can happen or that is existing in this material. We also want to look at occupant health. What health impacts can we see from interacting with this surface on a daily basis? Are there any? If so, disclose them to be transparent. If not, we'd still like to know that this is a healthy surface. So please, we want manufacturers to be disclosing this to be transparent as well. And then we want a material that's available with a short lead time. We've all experienced this over the past year, and it's just becoming more and more important to have the material with a short lead time. So now we can take a look into each of these a little bit more. So with sustainability, we want responsibly sourced ingredients. And when we talk responsible, we want, minimizing natural resource depletion, but also, minimizing how far all of those ingredients are coming from. We want countertops or surfaces that are carefully made and don't endanger the planet. And we want them to be durable and long lasting, so we don't need to constantly replace our surfaces. We want transparent materials with manufacturers that are disclosing harmful ingredients, as well as their health benefits if that's the case. And LEED v4.1 is rewarding companies who have disclosures, but also an optimization plan for further health improvements with their material. So we're going to see a large shift soon of a requirement of having at a minimum the HPD, and then those optimization plans are going to become increasingly important for LEED building projects. We also want health and cleanability with our surfaces. They're frequently touched and used. We've seen, this past year and a half has been largely focused on hygiene and human health. So we especially now want to have an easy to clean and maintain surface. We want to avoid stains and transmitting diseases, of course, but it's only going to become more important as we start to go back to the office, as we're starting to open up. So we're seeing this starting to happen now. So I think the next year will be, interesting to see how things change. So availability of material. We've had whole supply chains affected by unexpected interruption that we could have never imagined. So modern surfaces often are flexible and available locally. It's not dependent on a non-renewable resource that isn't available, and there's an abundance of materials that we can recycle. So we'll take a look at what materials might factor into that in just a moment. And we also want surfaces that offer functionality. We want, surfaces that can be used in different functions, from cooking and cutting on them to being used on walls, or having materials that we can add different features to, like drainage or storage options. We also, want seamless sinks to counters, all matching, which is totally doable with our modern surfaces. And we want materials that are easy to work with, so that we can do customization and use the material to fit any project. So really what we're getting down to is people don't want any hidden things within their materials. We want to know what's harmful in the product, if there is a harmful material in there. We want to know how it's impacting the environment. And online material selection means that we have to, as manufacturers, get all this information out there in as many places as possible. If it's tough to find on a material, that's generally not a great sign that they're not disclosing anything. It may be meaning that their health or environmental story isn't a great one. So now we can have you guys send in some free text responses of what features your ideal surface would have. It could be the ones I just spoke about, or it might even be some other ones that we didn't mention, but we'd love to hear from you. It looks like we covered these pretty well. I'm glad to see you all are thinking the same. So now we can have a conversation about bringing sustainability into the surface. And the characteristics of a modern surface are, basically that it's incorporating new technology that's mitigating the impact on environmental and human health. We want them to have a story that is defined by their content, performance, quality, and creation. And we want it to be aesthetically pleasing so that it can fit right into your modern design. And there's a lot of benefits to customers or your occupants. They get to have a peace of mind that they're having a healthy, eco-friendly material in their space. They get to tell a story with their home or office about their beliefs of sustainability and their preferences for being environmentally friendly or caring about human health. And then it's easy on the eyes. They're often beautiful, giving you unique looks, lots of color options, and giving you the design tools to create whatever aesthetic you desire. So now let's take a look at these modern surfaces. And the first one, we did discuss this already as an emerging material. But what we're seeing now, it's established a pretty steady market share. A lot of people are using this material, but what we're seeing as the trend with this material is these manufacturers are moving to 0% silica, and they're adding more colors with through body veining, darker colors that have white veining or maybe white bases that have darker black staining, but we're looking at more variation in color coming into the picture over the next 5 to 10 years. We have, the performance, composition, applications, and other benefits, all really, connecting to that modern surface factors that we just went through. It's easy to clean, and it's very, very durable. You can use it in a lot of different applications, and it has a great story about how it's produced and how it cares about the supply chain that it interacts with. So here's a quick video. There's also some cool technology that can be integrated with sintered stone. In specific, we'll be showing some from Laminates, a sintered stone manufacturer out of Italy.
When you're sad and blue and everything is putting you down, you know the world keeps spinning around. You know you're not alone. When you're sad and blue and everything is putting you down, you know the world keeps spinning around. You know you're not alone. It's time to let it go, just make it so that everyone can see you glow and shine. It's time to break away a brand new day, so clear your head and put it all behind. 'Cause all the bad is gone, just sing this song, you'll never ever be alone. So shine, shine, shine. You know the world keeps spinning, know the world keeps spinning around. When you're sad and blue and everything is putting you down, you know the world keeps spinning around. You know you're not alone. It's time to let it go, just make it so that everyone can see you glow and shine. Shine, shine, shine. It's time to break away a brand new day, so clear your head and put it all behind. 'Cause all the bad is gone, just sing this song, you'll never ever be alone. So shine, shine, shine. You know the world keeps spinning, know the world keeps spinning around, spinning around. When you're sad and blue and everything is putting you down, you know the world.
So it's just a little bit of a summary of some of the technology that you can integrate with Laminates. You saw a wireless phone charger through the surface, an induction burner that allows you to cook right on top of the countertop, along with the cooling plate that allows you to chill items through the countertop. So they have a lot of really cool innovations you can use Laminates for. Overall, just a very durable through-bodied sintered stone, and it is the only sintered stone on the market that offers through-body colors and veining, allowing you to have more installs that you would use a natural stone for. It allows you to carve into the stone and have exposed edges that show you the same pattern that's on top of the stone.
When you say.
So now we can look at paper composite, and this is another silica-free material. It's always been silica-free because it's made with recycled paper. But what we're seeing here is recycled paper and paperboard compressed into a stone-like solid surfaces. And we're seeing healthier resins here used, petroleum-free resins, and it really offers a durable and lightweight material. So it has a stone-like strength, but it cuts and is worked with like a very hard wood. What they're doing here is taking the recycled paper, soaking it in resin, heating and compressing it. And we could see the different color options available. Down here is leather. That is the color that exists with no pigment use. So that's the natural look, but they do have a lot of other color options available. And they have both exterior and interior lines. You can use this material for countertops or interior wall cladding. They have the exterior cladding line as well, along with a plywood option that has paper stone on the top and bottom. So lots of really cool, innovative technology used here to repurpose recycled material. And now we can look at modern solid surface. So we saw first generation solid surface. The look is getting dated. It is often mimicking a natural stone appearance, but we're finding that people are okay with having a more unique look that uses bright colors or a more vivid, rich aesthetic. So with modern solid surface, we're seeing recycled plastic and acrylic combined with a resin into durable solid surface materials. Main sustainability story is that recycled plastic. We're seeing that there is a large preference for solid surface to have a high resistance to stain and scratches. So that is the solid surface that we like to focus on with modern solid surfaces. It's easily machined and cleaned, makes it very functional in many spaces. It's customizable in size and color, and there's no seams that trap dirt and bacteria. We're using adhesives that chemically bond the material together so that there's no place for anything to build up. And then we see applications from counters to cabinetry, to furniture, signage, partitions, really allowing you to use this material in lots of different locations. Modern solid surfaces are often taken back and recycled or reused into new solid surface. And again, no crystalline silica used here, never has been and never will be. Another great modern surface option is recycled glass surfacing. And this is recycled glass with resins fused into a solid surface. Its performance is very similar to a quartz because the resins are sometimes similar or perform in a similar manner, and they are not going to require sealing or waxing, low maintenance here, and it's customizable in size and color as well. We're seeing applications mainly around interior countertops, maybe some flooring and tabletops as well. Other benefits we have here is it's often taken back and recycled into new material. There's no crystalline silica here either, just the amorphous silica within the glass, which is not a health hazard. And we also have some modern wood materials. So, you know, timber is not a rapidly renewable resource unless it's harvested in a sustainable manner. So we're looking at new materials that perform a lot like wood, like bamboo, which is very rapidly renewable and can be grown very quickly. So it allows us to harvest and grow more very quickly. We see paper composites with water-based coatings or reclaimed wood or waste wood. We see they're often coated for cleanability and durability, some with melamine. In our experience at CaraGreen, we have some that are coated with melamine for added durability, but also cleanability. And then it allows you to see the natural grain as well. Some applications here would be countertops, furniture, walls, exterior cladding, and the benefits we're seeing here is that it's encouraging responsible forestry and harvesting practices, and also encouraging the dependence on rapidly renewable resources like bamboo or hemp. And now we can look at bio-based modern surfaces. And these are, you know, there's always new ones coming out, especially now. It's very interesting to me to see what's coming out. But what we're seeing here is organic substances like hay or wildflowers, maybe even leaves or cork, bound with a bio-based resin that can replace surfaces like plastic laminates or hardwood. We're seeing, you know, a flexible performance here. It's durable and cleanable. And we've seen this used, you know, for floors, counters, walls, and furniture. Again, a very versatile material that can be used in many different places, a key characteristic of modern surfaces. And some other benefits we have here is, again, it's natural and rapidly renewable. So we can, you know, have a steady supply of this, constantly replenishing itself over time. It's decorative and unique and often inspires some biophilic design techniques. So now we'd like to see which modern surface characteristic interests you the most, or maybe one of those surfaces we just went over interests you a lot. Always happy to talk more about any products in specific at any time following the call. It looks like not getting any responses, but that's okay. We'll just keep going. So now we can look at surfacing of the future, and we have some predictions here for you all. And we're going to say that sustainability and transparency are here to stay, especially with the creation of LEED version 4.1. We're really starting to see that push towards optimization of your products and processes. So we're going to see designers look for alternatives to granite and quartz. Savvy homeowners are going to ask more questions about healthy materials, and from experience, I can tell you this is already happening. Lots of homeowners call and ask about sustainable materials. Quartz companies are going to continue to innovate silica out of their products, also to innovate the polyester resins out of their products, replace them with plant-based resins or other alternative resins out there. We're going to see sintered stone become a material of choice. This is just going to be similar to the way quartz is now, but even more so because it's going to be so frequently used for exterior paving and cladding, walls, floors, countertops, all over the place. And then we're going to see take-back programs become requested a lot more, and we're going to see manufacturers actually have to, put these take-back programs into practice. Many say that they will do this, but have not actually done it. We've started to put ours into practice over the past few years with our solid surface material Granite, and there are some, differences in the way it needs to be installed, but those will become more robust and become a, normal practice for manufacturers. So in summary, modern surfaces are products with environmental and human health in mind. They evolve with a changing industry and design trends. They're aesthetically pleasing. Transparency is a huge requirement for architects, designers, and consumers. We're seeing it across the board, both in, just the design, architects and design community, but also from homeowners and your everyday consumer. And then modern surfaces will allow us to tell the story of our spaces. If we're creating a LEED building and we're putting, a lot of investment into sustainably sourced structural elements, we're going to want to have a countertop or a flooring or any other surface that can visually tell the sustainability story of the building. It's often hard to connect the dots if, we're just using recycled steel beams, because no one's going to see that. But if we're having a recycled countertop along with the recycled steel beams, it helps to tell the story of the space and the people who are within that space. So that wraps up the presentation and course. I hope you all enjoyed it. We just recently, revamped this presentation, so there's a lot of new great information. We're happy to follow up with a YouTube link to the recording if you would like. And don't forget to request your credits. My email's rob@caragreen.com, and we'll get those submitted for you. I'm happy to take any questions. We're on social media, so if you're looking for inspiration, hop on Pinterest or Instagram. Our LinkedIn, we post a lot of articles about industry trends and current events within the industry. So if you're looking to stay on top of any of those topics, please check out our blog and LinkedIn.
Rob, one question in the chat is, how expensive is sintered stone compared to other stones like porcelain?
So sintered stone is often comparable in price or less than a lot of the quartz materials on the market or natural stone. So what we're seeing, and it comes in 1.2 centimeter thickness, 2 centimeter, and 3 centimeter. The highest square footage price we're going to see is around $35 a square foot. it can go down to $15 a square foot for those thinner options, but it's definitely an economic material to use, and definitely is a budget-friendly substitution for quartz materials or other natural stones or even porcelain. All right. I will stay on to answer any other questions, but always feel free to reach out to us for any questions, any samples or pricing requests. We're always happy to help. If you'd like to set up a course for just your firm, we can do that as well. A lot of our reps are getting back out to do some in-person presentations, so we'll bring you lunch and come meet you in person if you're open to it. Just reach out to us from our website. You can email me directly and we'll get you in touch with your rep.
Great. Thanks so much for attending today, everyone. If you have more questions, you can check out our website, CaraGreen.com. Or again, if you need AIA or certificate credit, you can email rob@caragreen.com. Thank you all.